Hello everyone, welcome to the intuitive card reading for the week of July 14th through 20th. Please like this video, please subscribe to this channel if you haven't already subscribed. Please share this video with anybody that needs to hear the energies and the influences and the messages of the week. Comments down below, feedback is always welcomed. Just be kind, that's all I ask. And I would love if you guys let me know how this reading resonates with you, what clicked, what didn't. All totally fine. Love interacting in the comments. So using the same 3 decks, not a new deck here for anyone that's seen the last several videos. I've been using the same ones, shuffled of course, and in an intuitive order. And I think that's it, guys. Let's see. So we're like in the middle of the month, basically, of July. Let's see what we have in store for us. So let's begin. What do we need? We have Knight upside down, allegiance to destructive ruler, principal, romantic illusions. I think we got this as well in the last reading. Guys, my memory can never be trusted. My intuition only can be trusted. So I only trust my intuition, not my memory. I should put that on a mug. Okay, so let's see here. So basically, it's basically saying exactly what it's saying. The energy is kind of saying exactly what the card is saying. Like, we are counting on a false leader. We are following maybe the wrong person. Or we are being a bad leader. This could be us too, right? We're being not so great leader. We are following the wrong crowd, like different things like that. So basically it's underneath it and it's saying we need to stop doing that, okay? We need to stop doing that. Guys, this is a reading for the collective, could be a global thing. Shout out to my Americans, okay? So could be something like that, okay? Bad leadership, having to deal with bad leadership, negative leadership, horrible leadership. So the card says delusions, right? Delusional leadership. You could say that too. So we're either doing that ourselves, or we're either following orders that aren't necessarily the greatest, I guess I could say. So this it's not necessarily saying that it's about work, right? And it's also not necessarily saying it's about, political or global. It can definitely resonate in that way. That, again, this is reading for the collective, so each person is going to find meaning in a way that's applicable for their own lives, to their own lives. So this could be just maybe a toxic boss for some of you guys out there, like somebody that is not leading you in the correct way, somebody that's leading you on. Could even be, speaking of, like, and the card actually says delusions, but actually says romantic delusions. It could be somebody leading you on, right? Not leading you to the right area, not leading you in the right way, or in a positive way. Leading you on, right? Maybe fibbing or embellishing about what they actually want out of a relationship, things like that. So there's something here where we're not, whatever we're following, it's not so great, and we kind of need to wake up from that. That's what Spirit is saying here. So very interesting energy right off the bat. Let's keep going with the reading and see if maybe we can get more clarity there, or other cards will resonate with that as well, or connect to it in some way, shape, or form. Action needed, Stag. Look at that. Okay, so Stag is about, is also really kind of about leadership, trusting in leadership, interesting, but also thriving, so doing things the right way. So, well, look at that. I just said maybe we'll go along, continue picking cards and see if anything resonates or connects with, and right next to it makes sense. Usually that does happen. So basically it's saying that we need to be the leader that is thriving, that is more in the yang energy. So that's more of a structured, strong, getting things done, and it's under action needed, so it's part of getting things done. So doing things in the way of, like, you're the leader. Okay, so you need to get rid of toxic leadership, and action needed needs to thrive in positive leadership. Okay, I'm not going to make this more complicated because I feel like I kind of am trying to interpret the energy, but that's basically what it is. Okay, so right off the bat, guys, something about leadership is going on this week. Okay, so make sure you're not following a false prophet. That's all I'm saying. Okay, I feel like I'm compelled to say that. Okay, I'm just gonna put that out there. You guys take it as you will. If you have toxic leadership around you, this is asking you to possibly step up to be the leader that you need. Okay, guys, it can apply at so many different levels. Like I said, I gave examples about work, relationships, global, political. So take it as you will. Let's move on and see what else is going on. Interesting energy. Okay, issue, truth be told. Okay, so this is about telling the truth. This is about being authentic. So we're having issues being our authentic self. Maybe we are around people that we feel we can't be ourselves around this week, or we can't, like I said, it's about, my hair's here, so just trying to get that off. I don't know if you guys can even see that, but anyway, we might feel like we can't be ourselves around somebody. We feel like we can't tell the truth about something. So maybe I'm getting like this feeling of like maybe trying to come clean about something, but having a hard time doing so. You know, maybe you made a mistake, or maybe you want to be truthful about who you are and you're just having a hard time with it. What I will say is I definitely do feel like it may resolve. So it's really kind of like a temporary issue for sure. But I definitely do feel like we need to get something off our chest, and we can't necessarily, we're having issues for whatever reason, getting it off our chest. What else do we have challenges with this week? We have healer upside down, taking advantage of those who need help, failing to care for oneself. Okay, so this is about being the wounded healer. So not taking care of ourselves first. Not giving the best advice maybe to other people, enabling people, because you're not allowing them to be the self-healers in their own life. So there's something kind of going around here where we might be, again, enabling somebody. We might be neglecting ourselves. We might be, I kind of like want to say like procrastinating on our own healing, right? Because it's in the shadow. It's saying like basically it's everything that is not allowing us to show up in that healer archetype, right? And healer archetype is really about creating our own reality and saying like, oh my gosh, no, I'm in control of this, X, Y, and Z, and feeling powerful, right? So we might be feeling powerless. That's the opposite, right? That's the polarity of it. So in some way, shape, or form, you might be feeling powerless in maybe whatever healing journey that's going on. So maybe something happens this week, some kind of snafu where you just feel like you can't, you have a bump in the road, or you're just not feeling as empowered as usual, that kind of thing. But again, it also could be like enabling energy, pity energy, also to pitying ourselves, pitying other people, mostly ourselves, I would say. But I definitely do feel like you're not exactly feeling empowered about whatever like healing journey that you're going on. So guys, we have some really tough issues and challenges this week, but I have faith in you guys that we can get through it for sure. Okay, change, ego, see from a higher perspective. Okay, so your mindset is changing. We actually haven't had a mindset shift type energy going on for a long time. So this is great because it really changes our consciousness. Might have something to do with night and all of this energy in the beginning here, where we're kind of like waking up to like toxic leadership, or we're following the wrong thing. Guys, it could even be like, this is kind of like on the bigger scale, and I'm not necessarily getting it as far as like, major energy. Sometimes you describe things as like major or minor, but it could be like you've been following like, a code your whole life, or some kind of ethical or moral type, spirituality or religion or something along those lines, and it kind of like changes, right? A false god of some kind, or false prophet. I said false prophet earlier. And it might kind of like, really shift things and get your mind kind of going like a higher perspective. a different perspective on it, and you're kind of like, you know, your consciousness is like finally shifting on something. And it does feel, if I, you know, like I said, I don't know if it feels major or minor, but I will say a little bit more on the major spectrum, okay? I'm not, you know, if we're looking at it as like a spectrum. So, you know, more major than minor. So it could be something like that, that kind of like, you know, changes your whole worldview. So very interesting energy going on this week. But yeah, definitely like changing perspective on something, you know, like I said, decently major. Okay, eagle. Okay, we had eagle already. Okay, focus, a change in the wind. Okay, so we have a change. Okay, so yes, the eagle is changing, and now this is saying focus on the change. Okay, so we just talked about what's happening over there with the eagle and the seeing a different perspective, the mindset shift. So focus on that, but also to any other changes that are happening. So I definitely do feel like coming off of that, this is definitely going, sometimes a change in the wind is like, sometimes like a brief change. So there might be like some uncomfortable changes happening. And so basically it's saying focus on the discomfort and kind of lean into the discomfort in whatever's kind of changing you. Some of you guys out there would probably say like, well, every change is uncomfortable. Not all the time. There are people that really like change, and, you know, sometimes maybe uncomfortable is like not the way to describe it, but I definitely do get like this uncomfortable feeling. So definitely like focus on leaning into it, and kind of like going with the flow, obviously. But I definitely do feel like, you know, we have like 2 change cards in a row here where it's kind of saying like, definitely could very much be your mindset for sure. I think it's more like mindset, which I would consider internal and not necessarily something external. Like changing your actual location would be something that's like tangible and external. So I don't think that's necessarily what this is saying. This is saying like an internal change. So yeah, focus on that and you know, lean into it is basically what Spirit is saying there. Okay, what do we need to reflect on? Orphan child, feelings of abandonment, the stifle maturation, seeking inappropriate circuit abandonment. Okay, this is, again, don't trust my memory, but I'm, you know, you guys can go back and watch the, you know, the previous videos, but definitely either the last one or the one before, or even the July monthly, we had a lot of, twice in a row, like depression, loneliness, feeling isolated, like that kind of stuff. So definitely getting it again here. We have it in the shadow, so we're feeling like very much alone. And this is basically saying reflect on not necessarily why we feel alone, but the things that we do because we feel alone, right? And so, or we feel depressed, or, you know, and this isn't blaming, you know, this isn't Spirit asking us to blame ourselves or anything like that, but basically it's saying like, what are the things that we're, you know, that we do because we have, you know, because that's fueled by loneliness or depression or isolation. So do we overeat because we're depressed? Like, you know, like different habits and different behaviors that we're doing. So reflect on that for sure. Because you might be discovering, you know, it's coming off of like a mindset shift up here, that we might be like discovering that we do something. Like maybe, you know, you can't figure out why you gained that 10 pounds, but, you know, you kind of put 2 and 2 together that it is, you know, connected to something like emotional, you know, which would be a nice, you know, and that kind of clicks, right? So definitely reflect on that. It's good journal questions to kind of go deeper. Okay, responsibilities. What do we got? Autumn, release the old and rest. Okay, so really this is saying, you know, responsibilities are to rest. It's kind of like autumn is like getting ready for winter and ready to kind of like hibernate more, but this is like more so like coming off a period of summer where it was kind of like go, 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 more yang energy. This is definitely more yin energy. And basically it is saying your only responsibilities is to really make sure that you know, rest, take a break, nap, you know, like that kind of thing. Take naps, I feel like I need to say. I love a good nap. I started being able to nap for the last several years since I have been dealing with issues, all types of issues. I have not been able to nap, and this year in January, that was a nice change. I'm able to nap, right? 9 times out of 10, I can nap if I'm tired. So I've been having all kinds of sleep issues. So napping is like a big thing for me. So yes, so basically it's saying, like even like it might look like it's not productive, but it is productive, right? Because the nap kind of like recharges you and gets, and helps your body and get you recharged and all of those things. So that counts, okay? So that's your responsibility, is to kind of like give yourselves the downtime that you need and that your body is asking for. Okay, money and finances. We have yin. Okay, so I was speaking a little bit about yang energy. It got like, not with, not specifically saying yang, but the energy coming from it. Yang is doing. Yin is more resting, coming off of, this is more of a rest. This is more of a yin. So money, finances, and career. So basically this is saying there's not too much to do. This is more of yin is flow. Yin is receiving. So it's basically saying like, don't work, let's put it this way. Don't overwork yourselves this week. Coming off of these two energies right here, very blatantly saying, do not overwork yourself. Do not overwork yourself, because it's going to, it's going to yield negative consequences, and it's just going to burn you out more than usual. So there's just no point in doing so. So if you have a packed schedule, I would rethink it. Obviously, use your own intuition, but this is basically saying like you don't necessarily have to hustle this week. Like basically, this is the opposite of hustle. Like this is saying don't hustle, okay? And then again, responsibilities are rest. All right, I'm not a financial guru. I'm not a financial analyst. Do what you got to do money-wise, but this is saying it's more of a slower type week. Take it a little slower. It's more of a yin type week when it comes to career, what you do for your job, entrepreneurship, money, and finances. So, and I will say this, because again, it's also about receiving. Sometimes just like this might be like a week that you like receive money just for being yourself or just by resting. I can't think of a good example right now, but there's something like, it could be like you get money from, something that maybe you did hustle on, like, maybe something you invested in a while ago. Maybe it's big for passive income. This is definitely alluding to like passive income, because passive income, yes, you do work for that, but you could have put in the work, previously, not necessarily this week kind of situation. Hopefully that makes sense, but it just feels very still, very chill, very yin. There's not too much more I can say about that. All right, what do we have under surprise? What could surprise us? Wow, we're getting a lot of shadow energy going on here. Acting innocent or intellect to mislead others, falsely claim to be in touch with. Okay, so angel in the shadow. Okay, so basically this is saying acting innocent, when you played a part in something, not taking accountability, that kind of thing. Okay, so it's under surprise. So to me that means that, guys, sorry for the ambulance noises in the background. This could mean that we are not taking responsibility for something. We're not taking accountability for something. We're pretending. It's kind of like you started a rumor about somebody, and then it became like a game of telephone, and that rumor got someone fired at work, and you're over here saying like, oh, well, I had nothing to do with it. When it's like you started the rumor and spread the rumor, okay? So that's that kind of energy, okay? So this is kind of calling ourselves out, which is okay, because we've already been kind of called out up there. Again, this could be us. We could be the toxic leadership up there, okay? And we could also be not taking responsibility for our part in something, okay? And the fact that it's under surprise is that it could actually surprise us, meaning like maybe we really believe we didn't start something. Maybe we really believe we didn't start that rumor. Maybe we really believe that we didn't play a part in whatever, this is talking about, right? So, maybe we really believe that, but with the change up here being mindset, you might shift that mindset and really realize your accountability. So, and it might surprise you, right? So this is basically taking accountability for what we're responsible for, okay? And, you know, might be a rumor. I can't think of anything else off the top of my head as a metaphor, but you guys, you know, you can put down below if something comes to mind. I always recommend, I should say this in the beginning of the video, watch these at the beginning of the week and then watch them again at the end of the week, okay? Because that will give you like a good picture, and then, you know, you can see how things transpired or manifested, or you know, you're like, hey, that's what that meant, right? You know, like that kind of thing. So I would love to hear how it, you know, how that happens with this angel card here in the shadow. But yeah, it's under surprise, so it might come out of nowhere, might really come as a surprise to you, for real. Because that's the other thing too, guys, is we don't necessarily, it's very human to not realize, you know, that maybe sometimes we play a part in our own suffering, or we play a part in what has transpired in the world, you know, by maybe a small action or something that we didn't realize that we did. Kind of like the butterfly effect sort of situation. So yeah, there's some interesting light bulb moments kind of going on here. So yeah, it's going to manifest differently for everybody, and I'm interested if you want to share down below how it does for you. All right, friends, we have Moon. Take note of intuitive messages. Okay, so we have intuitive messages coming through in the friends group. So use your intuition basically in your friends group, in your community, in your family life this week. So if something doesn't feel right, then it's not. Okay, always trust your intuition for sure. Yeah, there's not too much more I can say here. Just use your intuition when it comes to, you know, if you're making new friends, if you don't trust, you know, somebody. I know we have some trust stuff going on up here with the issue. Like we don't, you know, maybe not trust is not the word, but like we're afraid to open up to somebody about who we really are or what we really did or whatever it is. If it doesn't feel safe, you know, then it doesn't feel safe, right? So, you know, for whatever reason. So use your intuition if you think it's a good idea to do that or whatever. But yeah, use your intuition in general, like as a, you know, that's always my message, as you guys know. All right, romantic connection. We have never ending story. Okay, so this is cyclical energy. This is round and round, round and round. There's a round and round card. Usually that is just like, you know, that could be like routine. It's usually more in the positive. This is a little bit skewed negatively, because this is basically saying like we're doing something over and over again. It's like the same result and like not in a good way. And so we might be finding ourselves in cyclical patterns in our romantic connections this week. Maybe you find yourself in the same fight you were in 2 weeks ago with your significant other. Maybe you find yourself on a date with, you know, the exact type of person you're on a date with a month ago. You know, maybe this person reminds you of your ex, you know, the same issues, you know, etc. So patterns always give us, you know, pattern recognition is a really good thing, okay? And you need awareness around that. So you need perspective around that. So, you know, I always say like, you just notice the patterns basically. And so this is basically saying like something keeps happening over and over again, and it needs to come to an end. Like it needs to be a straight line. It cannot be the swirl, you know, it cannot be the circle. It cannot be that type of energy. It needs to be like a straight line. Like we need to be, you know, where there's like a present and then a future, you know, and obviously a past if we're looking at a straight line. So this is basically saying like you're going in a cyclical type, you're going in a circle over and over and over again, and nothing is being resolved. So definitely, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, might be some fights going on, or again, just same type of pattern with yourself or with, again, your significant other. Okay, what have we got going on? What's important? A lot of things are important, but let's see. Prince in the shadow, using power for self. Okay, determine potential for power. Okay, so this is basically just suppressing. The Prince is always an interesting one. This could also be like a more feeling disempowered type energy, like you're not necessarily feeling like you can step into. I guess I could say like a leadership role. Yeah, guys, definitely I think I know what I'm going to title the video already, because this is very very themes of, you know, following a false prophet, themes of, you know, toxic leadership, or feeling like we're disempowered and we feel like we don't have good leadership or whatever, or we're not being a good leader or whatever it is. But it definitely does feel like we're not fulfilling to our highest potential. You know, I have like a little bit of that coming through with this card too. We're not feeling empowered about our potential is what I can say as well. So it's important that I feel like this comes in under important because, guys, I'm not gonna lie, so far, okay, you guys know I always tell the truth, and you've been here so far, you know, in this reading, we've gotten all shadow cards so far. I know they're upright here, but they all came in upside down, okay? I only do that because it looks better when it's when it's upright. So that automatically, you know, sometimes leans more on the egoic side of ourselves. It leads more into the obviously shadow sides of ourselves, but also like a disempowering type energy. So we definitely could be feeling disempowered in more ways than one this week, especially with power dynamics, especially with, you know, leadership, especially with our own healing journeys, as we mentioned up there in the challenge slot. So I definitely do feel like it's coming under here to basically say, like, it's okay to feel that way. Just like, you know, it's okay. You know, it doesn't really, like, basically saying, the Spirit is saying, like, don't let the defeat get you down, okay? Because it only feels that way right now, okay? It only feels that way right now. It's not the end, you know, it's not the end, okay? That's basically what it's saying here. So go with it as best you can, but again, it's okay to like not feel like super empowered, and just let yourself feel that. Okay, guys, this is really kind of like more intuitive side of, you know, I'm just trying to interpret this energy here, but that's what I'm getting. So it's okay, guys, you know, it's okay. And I feel like we needed to hear that there. Okay, health and wellness. We have water guarding, connect with your emotions. Well, look at that. I'm just talking about emotions here. Okay, so this is basically saying it's a, you know, very emotional. So we have the health under health and wellness. So we might be feeling it. Okay, just what I was just saying. Okay, it's very interesting that I just pulled this card because I was just talking about emotions and maybe heavier emotions or feeling more sensitive or just feeling more emotional in general. And it's like, okay, so we might be feeling that way about our health and wellness. So we might, you know, if you're on a mental health journey, maybe you're just feeling extra emotional about it this week, not doing so great, or, you know, maybe you're on a spiritual awakening journey and you're on the dark night of the soul, or, you know, just like not feeling so hot about, you know, your spiritual path. You know, there's something kind of going on here. And then, of course, you know, physical, if you're on a physical healing journey like I am, maybe you're not feeling so great emotionally. Maybe you're actually starting to process the emotions around it, or just, you know, whatever it actually is. Just feel your feelings, guys. Let yourself process it. I'm not going to lie to you guys. You know, we have one more card. I would be shocked if it's something like happy. That would be nice. But this is basically saying feel your feelings, okay? Especially when it comes around, you know, to your wellness. It's okay to feel down. Like I mentioned earlier when I pulled the orphan child, probably in the last few readings, we've gotten like at least one card about, you know, loneliness, depression, or, you know, feeling isolated, feeling misunderstood. Like, that's also part of it. It's okay. Okay. It's okay. Right. And I think that's what this card is coming through with. Just connect with your emotions. Don't try to push them down like that. Like Spirit is saying, like, that would just contribute worse to everything, basically. So don't do that. Process them, feel them, acknowledge them. And then we have come to the edge. So we have, yeah, so it's not a happy. It's not the happy card. Okay, so this is basically saying, like, you're ready to move on. You're ready to move forward. You're ready to do something. That's, maybe you're ready, maybe I misspoke. Like, the poise card would do that. So this is like the card before the poise card, right? So it's basically saying like, this is the card before you're actually like ready to jump off the cliff, right? You're trying to end things. You're trying to close things up. You're trying to close up loose ends, okay? That's what the overall outcome is. And so maybe it requires, I mean, obviously it requires all of the things that I talked about to be able to do that. So everything is happening for a reason. Everything that you're experiencing this week is because you're trying to close a chapter. That's what it feels like this is trying to say. So yeah, guys, I would, you know, I'm always honest with you. This feels like a harder week than usual. But it's not, you know, it's not, nothing is always all bad. Nothing is always all negative. You guys know that. But, you know, we're doing the best we can, basically. And I really think the mindset shift is super important. I really, even though this came out like pretty strong at the top here about toxic leadership, at least now we're acknowledging it and we're realizing we need to kind of get out of the situation, right? And you know, and we need to take action on that, you know, and moving to something a little bit more healthy. So acknowledging it is like half the battle, basically, because then you can. That's why mindset is so important, okay? Because if you don't know, like if your mindset doesn't shift, if your consciousness doesn't shift, then nothing else shifts, right? Like how do you change something if you don't think there's a problem, right? People go their whole lives without like being aware of maybe like their habits or what's going on in the world, or, you know, what they're doing is actually contributing to their own suffering, their negative behaviors, their patterns, like things like that. So I definitely do feel like a lot of that just comes to the surface this week. But yeah, awareness is key and you guys have it, okay? And you guys are definitely getting some light bulb moments going on this week for sure. So just a little bit more inner work than usual, okay? So that's okay. We love it. We love the inner work because it makes us a better person overall. That's what we're all about, right? Then why are we here on this earth? A lot of different reasons, but guys, this is a spiritual channel, okay? We're here for growth. Okay, we're here for personal development. Okay, we're here to evolve, right? So, yeah. Okay, guys, I think that's all I have. Have a wonderful week. Put down below anything that resonates with you. Like I said, I would love to hear how it does, since this is such heavy type energy going on here. So, until then, I'll see you next week. Bye, guys.